Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me See Me podcast. Today I'm with a really great guy. I've only known for a little while. We've done some good stuff together. Today I'm with Stephen Easton. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, pal. How are you?
I'm very good.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Yeah, after a long Salon International weekend. That's why I look like the
Mm.
Walking Dead. But we, Stephen is our team leader for our new Camden Haircuts for Homeless. We've worked together a couple of times, and you're an interesting guy. So I wanted you on the podcast. So tell me, where did you grow up? What was your sort of upbringing like?
So I grew up in I moved around a lot as a kid, and in Scotland. So moved around not because of any army background or anything, just my parents and uh, you know, breakups and we actually moved to London when I was really little. My dad had his issues, so we moved here and then went back. So mainly Scotland though, and settled in Aberdeen when I was about 11.
All right.
Yeah,
So it was that you wasn't sort of you're a bit transient, was you at the beginning? What's it like
a
to not
wee
have the
bit.
roots, you know?
Was that?
What's it like not to have the roots? Because I had very strong roots, so I don't know what it was like.
It's a funny one. I think I feel them more now as I get older, but I think it's a good thing because I've moved around quite a bit as an adult,
Mm.
um, and it makes you a bit less um fearful of moving cities,
Right.
but it also makes you a bit itchy and a bit less. And now as I get older, being settled and being having stability is I'm understanding it just now. Why is it so important? So yeah, but I wouldn't trade being Scottish. I love being Scottish.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm half Scottish, so my
Brilliant.
dad was Scot, and he grew up on a farm, and then they chucked him in the bothy at 14, and he jogged off down to England with the army as soon as he could. But
Uh,
yeah, I've still got family up there, and I love
yeah,
going. It's a beautiful country.
it's amazing. I just miss the humor.
Yeah,
Like no offense to down south. I love being here, but people we're just funny.
yeah, yeah. I know. Oh, whenever I've cut hair and stuff, they rip me to pieces. Not quite as
Yeah.
much as Liverpool. They really ripped me to
Mm,
pieces at Liverpool, but yeah, the Scottish have a go at me as well.
yeah. No, it's good. It's good fun. I love being a Scot.
Yeah. Where did you? So what took you into hairdressing?
Do you know what? I had a rough time at school, and I with that I wasn't really kind of focused on what I was gonna do. You know, when you start to get to like 15 and people are chatting about what you're gonna do. But my mom used to send me to the salon and to get my hair cut, and it was like in this we lived in like a village in Aberdeenshire, and they had a lassie who was working there on a Saturday, and bless her, I don't know what she's up to nowadays, like, but she was quite quiet, and in Scotland they call that doer.
Oh, right.
Like she was just a wee bit sullen, not too chatty. And she was the Saturday girl at the time, and I came in and they said, "Oh, you'd be really good." And I'd always like I had a paper round and worked in a restaurant and all that stuff. So I just thought, right, I'll work here on a Saturday. And at the time, so I was 15, and at the time there was the TV program, The Salon, remember? Yeah. And it was like I just remember thinking, oh, I could do that,
Yeah.
you know. And
Uh,
they
uh,
were all like I didn't really know, I wasn't really accepting the gay thing yet, but I knew I was different, and it just looked quite hairdressing looked quite accepting.
Yeah.
And when I looked into it, at that time, and you'll know this, the school wasn't very supportive. Hairdressing was seen as something that kind of like the naughty girls done.
So you was like a naughty girl, was you?
I was a naughty girl. I was put in that pile. That was the easiest pile for me at the time. And but I remember a friend of mine at school, her mum and dad had done quite well for themselves and stuff. They had like a nice house and businesses, and she said to me, if you're going to be a hairdresser, you have to be a good one. So she like said, these are all the posh salons in Aberdeen, and yeah, got had an interview and got an apprenticeship in a Saks salon
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
in Aberdeen, and rest is history. I was there for 11 years.
Right.
So yeah,
And where did it
and
take you after that? Where did you move from Slack?
I decided to move to Brighton.
All right.
Um, Genuinely, as basic as this sounds, I went to Brighton Pride for the first time when I was like 27, and I was out in Aberdeen and stuff, but I wasn't maybe I don't know. There was always that feeling that I wanted to live a bit of a bigger life than what I could in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Aberdeen's great, but 10 years ago it was still, there's like one gay bar, and it's not. I'd always looked at I don't I, I'd been to London a few times and thought, oh my God, I want to do that. So I went to Brighton Pride and thought, I'm going to move here.
Yeah.
So that's what I done. And was at a few places while I was kind of finding my bearings. And then I'd always wanted to work for Trevor Sorby.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I was
And
always a lot. What's that?
they had one down there, didn't they? That was a. I don't know if
They
it's still.
still do.
Are they still? It's still there, is it? Yeah.
They
Yeah.
still got a Brighton
Remember them
salon.
going to.
So yeah, no, I'd always wanted to work for them. And um I'd always been, put off by the Vardering and stuff because I'd heard that it was really tough.
Yeah.
But I kind of finally like I was like, no, let's give this a go. And one of the best things I ever done. Worked for them for 4 years.
Really.
Yeah, and ended up teaching for them, and um, it's kind of what like made me into. I'd see myself as a good hairdresser now,
Yeah.
and I was before, but I was still winging it a wee bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
But but there's nothing wrong with that. But the Vardering and the education at Sorby's just like really put a rod down my back.
Yeah.
And so that was that. And now I'm in London, left Sorby's a few years ago, working for an Aveda salon that has a bit of a background of, we have someone who used to work for Sorby's, and I'm really settled there now, so
Yeah.
it's good.
And rolling forward, you
Yeah,
contacted me, and then
I know.
and we, it's this. It's a great place that I know you done well because you was looking for places to find it and everything, and it come up with the Salvation Army at Chalk Farm,
Yeah,
and it was incredible that first session we done, uh, and me and Belinda we come out sometimes think, oh, I don't know if this one's going to work, or we've opened so many, we've opened over 80 now across the UK. But we come out and that was one, and we went, this is great, this is like a real deal, this place. And it's
mm,
and what was beautiful was over the years, many years working at Whitechapel Mission, I come across a lot of lovely people, and unfortunately we're not able to go in there anymore because of the space. But there was a lovely Irish guy called Michael, and I think I heard him before I saw him. I think I went, bloody, that's Michael. And I went out the front and went, how you doing? And he come in, and he was, it was so lovely, to see him again.
he's so many characters. Like,
When Because then we recently done another one now. You carried it on now, which is
yeah,
fantastic. It's what we want when our team leaders to like invest in it and make it a regular thing, because these guys get let down all the time. So we say to
yeah,
people, going to start it, please keep it going, because
yeah,
they get let down by everyone. So we can be the one thing they can rely on, and you've done
yeah,
that, kept it going. We managed to revisit recently, and we had some wonderful characters that night, didn't we?
yeah. There was and there was some cracking haircuts as well. I
Yeah,
was jealous. There was one you were doing. I was like, oh, fuck, I wanted to do
I know.
that.
I know you did. And that's why I pinched him as soon as because my sister does the list and I can just give her a wink. Then someone might. You're talking about
But
the
so
guy with the tattoos.
yeah,
Yeah.
you were the VIP. You traveled. You can have the pick. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm not proud.
You can get him next time.
Mm. Oh, he was amazing.
What
He
does
was
it
really
do
good.
for you? What does it do for you? What do you get from it?
You know what? Like, I'll be honest. I think I'm similar to. I think a lot of people are like this, where when you have struggles in your own life, it's people suggest to you along the way, you should help other people. And I've always seen it, and I would see how I'm a big searcher. I'm always looking at other people and seeing, you know, how do they get to where they've got to? How did they get past their shite, And I'd always see people helping, and then haircuts for homeless has kind of been in my um site for, oh, it must be at least 5 years now when I first seen it. And I've always thought, oh, that would be good. But I just never got round to it. I never got out of my own way. And then I had a particularly dark time at the end of last year, and I just done it, just got in touch. And honest to God, it's one of the easiest things I do. It's so easy. And I don't mean like the work, I just mean the entire environment. Like it feels I feel like I could do that twice a week at least. I could do it every day. But it's so easy. And well, we spoke about this, like I do want to tell everyone about it, and I want to tell everyone to do it. But I also understand that I think you have to make a bit of a space mentally to just say, I'm going to give up my time. And then once you've done it, you'll keep doing it. I think
I
that's the way
don't.
I see it.
I don't know about you, but that. Well, I mean, it must be a real thing for me because I've been doing it so long, and
Mm,
the best will in the world, you got to get fed up with something if you're not getting something out of it. And what I get, often I've got the world on my shoulders and I'm walking like Chalk Farm is a perfect example. I never want to go, a bit like the gym. I don't want to go.
mm,
The trek, it's a slip up there, the trains that carry the bags and, you know, and something, and I might have had a shit day or a shit week. And I'm like,
mm,
do that, let's do that, let's do that. And I walk in and it all lifts. And the
mm,
first chat with a guest is like, all my shit goes out the window because I can
mm,
listen to their shit.
mm,
Invariably, their shit's a hell of a lot worse than mine. And we sort of float out. We float out. And me and Blinda, and it's always the train journey home's a lot quicker. We've been lifted. We've been, if it's your soul or your spirit, spiritually lifted, like,
mm,
um, and that could be addictive. And, I suppose that's my addict. That's my, I love that feeling. And I get it less and less out of fewer things now. So I have to grab it where I can.
mm,
Because what I keep overdoing is everything I like, I overdo it to the point where I think, oh, I'm doing a bit too much of that. But this is the
mm.
one thing I seem to be able to just do is more and more and more.
Oh my God. I mean, I'll just copy and paste everything you just said in the last minute. That's yeah. Oof. That's yeah. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. Everything I like doing it. Everything I like doing, I managed to do it until I've kicked the arse out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with this, it feels really easy to do for me. And I think, you said something, I think you said, I heard you say, oh, they're just this, they're just the same as me, I think.
Yeah.
And that's homelessness is something, touch wood, I've never been homeless. I've seen and heard a lot in my life from a young age, but we were never like, we always had a roof over our head. We always had clean clothes, like all of that sort of stuff. Seen a lot of like things with abuse and addiction, but never seen, was always warm and fed. And homelessness is something that you can just breeze through life without having to look at it.
Mm.
But when I've had to face, particularly the last few years, the extent of like mental health and addiction in my life, it's made me realize that I I'm genuinely one or two turns away from being there.
Mm.
You know, one or two decisions to the left or the right, and I could be homeless as well. And you know, it's I think doing it, like, because you want to do it because you want to hope that some of these people, you're not going to see them because
Yeah.
they've got themselves, and some of them, that's what I love, is like some of the guys who, I've had this a few times where they've said, right, I'm actually, I'm gonna go tomorrow, and because I've had my haircut, I'm gonna go and try and get a job tomorrow. Or do you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 I had that a lot.
So
So I'm so glad you're here tonight because I've got an interview tomorrow and things like
yeah.
that. It's very often, and it's lovely when we go to a centre and we gradually get to know people, and then the next thing they say, "I've got a place." You know,
Oh,
we're all like, "Oh, it's amazing," Um, but then unfortunately, like sometimes it's like we go and it's, "Oh, they passed away, they're gone." They're like, the age, the mortality age of homeless people, street homeless people, is very, very low. I won't quote it because I don't know it, but I know it was shockingly low
mm,
for men and women. And unfortunately, that is, you, you know, the sad times, but the happy times are amazing when you get someone and as well, sometimes if you've been visiting a certain place a long time, and you gradually see them grow and get better, and it's a beautiful thing.
it's cool as, man. I love it.
Yeah. Well, at the end of that last session, we was on a chat. It was a great chat we was having, and I just wanted
Yeah.
to continue it on here.
Mm,
Uh, and even my sister, like the lovely Blinda, I said to her,
she's a legend.
she's great, isn't she? And I said to
I
her,
love her.
she said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I said, "Well, A, I'm not getting up early, and B, I'm in Steve's podcast. I definitely want to listen to that, because she was really interested by it all. She's more interested in your new tattoo, but apart from that, she was
Aye, well, I didn't get that to not get attention, did I?
certainly not. It's wonderful. I wish I'd have took a picture. I wanted to show my kids, but
I I understand. I've shown it to one client,
yeah.
and uh, I
Show,
I love
ladies and gentlemen, this man has got a showstopper on his thigh.
it. Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a fuck you tattoo to be.
It certainly is. And funny enough, the guy with the tattoos, who had the full body
Yeah,
face,
full covered.
and he had "fuck you" on the back, which I thought was really funny. It was amongst all this scroll work and everything. But then when I went, "Oh look, yeah, fuck you" on the back,
Oh, I
so
love it.
everyone behind him is saying "fuck you" too. Um,
Love it.
but yeah, at the end of that conversation, you spoke about being HIV positive. And
Mm,
we had a chat about that and the stigmas and that. And, I immediately related to that wonderful program that had all my family in tears. It's a Sin. And what was really scary for me at the time is that because I'm old enough, watching that drama unfold with mixed in with the factual stuff of the adverts that went on the telly, and I remember that ignorant fear,
Mhm.
the ignorant fear that the media, like people in that position at the time, it must have been absolutely horrendous because they were so victimized and ostracized and, you know, alienated. And it's so I think, and what I loved about it, it was showing the truth, the reality, and, and to dismiss the fears. And you must, when you saw it, it must have really moved you, that piece.
Well, I watched It's a Sin from start to finish 3 times
Yeah, I've done it twice. Yeah,
because I've had a fair bit of therapy. I've seen like a psychotherapist continuously for about 3 years. 3 years for some people is nothing, and I'll definitely have more therapy in my life for sure. But the therapy relating to my HIV, I've been HIV positive 10 years now, and it'll be 11 next year. The therapy that I got from It's a Sin was just that, like, I don't understand why it didn't win any award, why it didn't win a BAFTA. I don't get it. It was one of the best bits of TV I've ever seen. And I'm definitely not getting this wrong that it was Russell T Davies that done it.
yeah.
And he done I mean, he's really well known for Doctor Who. I don't really know about all of that stuff, but he done I'm
Queer
not a
as folk.
sci-fi guy.
Queer as
Eh?
folk. Did he do
He
queer as
done
folk?
Queer as Folk, yeah. And Queer as Folk was also therapeutic in a sense that it kind of was the first thing that, because I was too young when it came out, but it was the first thing that I kind of, one of the first like box sets, videos, DVDs, whatever I would have bought at the time, that I reached for when I started being openly gay, because it, and I ended up moving to Manchester for a while as well. So I ended up doing it. I ended up doing it. But going back to It's a Sin, it was like, especially that monologue at the end by the young actress, I can't remember her name. It was like she couldn't have put that whole last episode when um the mum is, going around that hospital and her heels are clacking and she's deciding that she's gonna, all of that is so relevant. Um I've I've had my journey with it. I've had my journey from 2013. So I've had an insanely different time to what the people, all those guys in the 80s had. I came into something very different, but It's a Sin. It was heartbreaking. I mean, I sobbed the whole time because I think about all the people and what they had to go through, but also because as much as we're in a different place, that stigma hasn't, disappeared. So yeah, it's one of the best bits of telly ever.
Yeah. What to what extent do you think the stigma is still there? To what level do you think people's ignorance is?
Like, I think in this day and age, I don't. I'm 35, so I think of myself as very like, I'm always worried about saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I'm always worried about using the wrong word. I grew up in Aberdeen, very, you know, not very progressive, very white, like very not very open at all. And I think that I think with HIV, I think people know that it's treatable. People know that it's not a death sentence, I think. But that's not to say the stigma's not still there. Um, I think it depends on, in the gay community, um, I think the stigma's very low.
Mm.
But outside of that, I can't I can't really I'm not sure. I think because I've been very lucky with, I think I said this to you. I've been very lucky. I wrote an article a few years ago and it asked where I'd faced the biggest stigma. And I said, um, the biggest stigma I faced with HIV is from myself
Really?
because I've not had any family turn away from me. I've not had any friends turn away from me. I had to tell people 10 years ago, I was 24, and most of my friends were girls. You know, I don't, I kept it, I, I kept it to myself for almost a year. And when I finally started telling people, I remember telling my first female friend, and it was like, still upsets me to talk about it because she genuinely thought I was going to die. Like when I told her, she was like, I'm not laughing, but she was so hysterical. She was like, "Oh my God, you're gonna die!" And I'm like, "No, like let me tell you, it's not going to be like that." But going back to It's a Sin, that final monologue of shame, that's the biggest stigma I've felt, and the biggest stigma I think some gay guys have felt is to themselves because getting HIV was like, to me in my 24-year-old head, was like evidence that there is something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like being gay. Do
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I do. Yeah.
Like being gay had always felt that it always felt that I'm wrong because I'm gay. I'm dirty because there's something wrong with me. And I managed to package that okay. I was in the best industry for it because hairdressing is one of the industries where being gay is okay, this is me talking in past tense, by the way. I know things are different now, but growing up in Aberdeen, it was okay because I could be camp and all those sorts of things. But getting HIV made things very real. It's an STI. It's yeah. So I think the stigma I've had to work through is the stigma that I've had against myself, and I think that's why I like to talk about it outside of maybe gay spaces
Mm.
because I want I don't want there to be a stigma about it,
Mm.
you know. So yeah,
It's fascinating to me because we are harder on ourselves than we would ever be to anyone else. We say things to ourselves that we wouldn't unless you're a complete psychopath or something. You wouldn't dream of saying to other people. You wouldn't stand there and just say, but the things we say to ourselves, and it's um, I suppose the thing with me has been that I've got the only thing I can relate to that is because I was abused as a child, and it took me a a hell of a long time to just have no effect on me anymore, you know. But the inner voice is because what happened with that was in the 70s, and it was a time when things weren't. I love my parents. I miss them both dearly. I've got no judgment on them at all for it. They handled it the best they could at the time, but their reaction to it was to brush it under the carpet and don't mention that. That's not that's not nice. Well, I think my dad went and sorted it out, but it's got to be you know and what that does to you, that gives you this feeling that you've done something terribly, terribly wrong. And I think until that point, you're almost like, like you're upset by it, but you don't particularly think you've done anything wrong, but that makes you feel like it. And then you've got that thing ongoing that you're, as you said the word dirty, and that resonated. You get that thing of like, yeah, you're dirty, you're spoiled goods, and as well, what it does, it twists your thinking. So it takes an awful lot of work to sort of untwist that and I think that's the thing. It takes a long time to learn to love yourself. And I think that's where also you feel stages of relationships not working because it's very almost impossible to love someone else unless you innately love yourself. Until you start to love yourself, then you can actually have love for another person. So, I'm giving you my life story now, but that's how I can connect to that. I don't know if that.
No, I mean, I really appreciate you telling me that, and I think you're such a rock star, man, that you can. No, you are. That's just so fucking cool that you can say that because some people never allow themselves because it does take compassion to want to get better.
Mm,
When you're in a jam with bad relationships or addiction or any of these things, when you're in a jam, you have to have at least a glimmer of wanting to be better. And I think, I've always felt like, no, not always. I was a very easy kid. I was like the when I was a kid, I just wanted to be Freddie Mercury, ironically. But like that's all I wanted to be. Honest to God, I just wanted to
ironically.
be I wanted to be Peter Pan. I wanted to be Peter Pan. And then from the age of about 6, I was just obsessed with Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
I still am. I think got him
I
there.
see him. I see him.
He's he was just this like just like to me, he was just like, oh my God, you're a man, but and you look like the way you look, but you're just skipping about the stage and no one's looking at anyone else. He was just this, oh, just my idol in a lot of ways. Um, and I was innocent, very innocent. I still am a little bit, but things happened with me when I was a kid as well. And I'm not comparing. I don't know what happened with you, and it was very complicated as well because I've got a fantastic relationship with my mum now, which I'm extremely grateful for. But she came from she's one of 11 kids,
Wow, yeah.
and there's a big history of abuse within the family.
Yeah.
Um, as kids, she was one of the victims of it, and then nothing as bad. I don't know, abuse is abuse, but
Yeah.
there was definitely. I still struggle to like kind of. I've had therapy around it, and they've told me that I experienced abuse as a kid as well, and I still struggle to kind of put a finger on it or put a word on what happened, but it definitely started the beginning of me feeling dirty,
Yeah.
and that feeling is like I don't know if it'll ever leave me actually, and I'm starting to believe that I'm not, but it is. I think it's maybe why things like coming back to like doing the homeless thing and stuff, that just feels so easy to do because I kind of I don't want to sound like I understand because I've never slept a rough night in my life, but I get that feeling of you know, feeling like damaged, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I mean, we're talking about powerful TV. the last few days we've watched the Reckoning, the Steve Coogan, Jimmy Savile, like, and he needs every award going for that.
Is
Firstly,
he
for
good?
bravery, bravery for being the man who does portray. Who's going to want to take that on? And he did. Does it in an incredible way. But last night we saw the last episode, and I won't say anything about anyone who's seen it, but there was just a little bit in there where there was this little boy, and he goes into a room, and then there's his shadowy figure in front, and it was exactly that, really. And I don't get triggered hardly at all anymore. But that was the same scenario, because this guy had French doors on the back, and he was there, and that's that feeling you can't get out. And that little thing, and God, it got me right, really got me. And my boy, who's 27, right, I see him glance over. I was trying not to, like, I didn't, and he went to bed like after. He came out about 5 minutes later. He came out and gave me a cut off. So he must have picked up on it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm really quite sad that he saw that pain. But it doesn't come out very often, and that's why I was sort of, I'm really so pleased that people are brave enough to do these things. It's a sin, the reckoning, like, because it's almost like, if it's making you feel uncomfortable, it's fucking working. We need to know, we need to feel, we need to understand, and we must always remember it's the crucial thing of these things.
I think as well, I think with any struggle, you need representation is so important.
Hmm.
That's why I've always struggled with like cancel like culture, because I do believe if you've done something wrong, you have to pay the price 100%. But like, I don't know, there's something about like people need to see that. I don't know. People need to see things that are difficult to look at and to see why that ends up happening.
Yeah.
Um, because no one else is going to get better, and no one else is maybe going to open up and say, "Oh, that happened to me."
Yeah. Well,
You know.
yeah. Well, that's the power. That's the power of what they've shown with this the reckoning, is the fact that it's highlighting that what happens when things are brushed under the carpet. It's highlighting that it could be so institutionalized, and someone can get so protected by the powers that be, that they can then actually get away with like hundreds and hundreds of cases of this most awful abuse that could ever happen. And you think, um, you know, that's why everyone must know about these things. And it's a bit like, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there can't stand the sight of my face, because it's on everywhere, and it's sort of, and I'm sure there's the odd person, or not the odd, there's probably quite a few people who go, "Oh, who's he think he is? He's not," and that. But I will fucking shout about it, because I am a flawed, selfish, alcoholic who's got a fucking MBE, right? I'm proud of that, because, and I'll tell everyone about it. I know people say, I don't like to talk about it. Fuck that. I'm going to talk about it, because for every person out there who's struggling, who's been through what I went through as a child, or has been through the addiction that I've had, and I respect people who don't want to talk about it. I 100% respect that. But for me, I want to shout about it, just purely because it gives hope. It gives
Mm.
hope to people who think, wow, perhaps it can all be all right. Perhaps it is worth it. Perhaps it is worth the struggle of trying to change. And that's not evangelical. It's just that's what pushes me to keep going with everything.
And it does, like, it feels it feels brave. Some days, I don't know. Some days it'll feel brave. Some days it feels just fucking so uncomfortable. Some days it feels, is this even necessary? Am I being self-indulgent? Like, but to everyone else that's ready to listen or even might think, it's hope,
Mm.
and I like, I've always felt really like quite sorted in my head and stuff, but ironically, like the more I keep things in, the more that kind of leads to me being mentally unwell.
Mm.
It's like what I'm trying to say is it's people that speak the truth and their truth in history are seen as crazy a lot of the time. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what I've, especially growing up gay, I've spent I know we all do, but particularly growing up gay, I've spent my entire life so far spending an insane amount of time caring what people think.
Mm.
Insane. And that's why, to get that tattoo on my leg of three men having an intimate embrace uh, was such a big deal
Yeah.
because I would never have in a million years done that 10 years ago.
No.
Like, are you kidding? No way. So, and if that means you're a bit too loud for some people, or then that really doesn't matter
Mm.
because the alternative to not speaking your truth is that you'll end up harming yourself or others,
Yeah.
you know. And yeah, so it's with HIV, it's something that I'm always happy to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I don't feel like I never use the word struggle because in terms of my health, I haven't struggled at all.
No.
Like I got diagnosed nearly 11 years ago in Aberdeen, and I was looked after like a VIP
Yeah.
because the HIV care has had to people have had to fight tooth and nail to make HIV care a priority,
Yeah.
and it's only been in the last again, I don't want to quote wrong words or wrong timescales, but I'm just generalizing. In the last 20 years, it's only been that HIV care has been taken
Yeah.
seriously, and you know, it's I take my medication, I'm undetectable, and in the last, particularly, it feels like the last 5 years, most people know that undetectable means untransmittable. So basically,
Right.
so that the my and I'm gonna get this right. So my viral load, which is your amount of the virus in your system and your immune system, is suppressed to a point by the medication where it is undetectable.
Right.
So I cannot, if I continue to take my medication and I get my bloods done, um, and I've been undetectable consistently for 9 years.
Wow.
So um, I can't transmit
Yeah.
HIV.
Yeah.
I'd have to stop taking the meds and just completely disregard it to even get to that point where I could potentially
Yeah.
transmit it. Um, and it's I feel very blessed because
Yeah.
it wasn't that when it first came around.
No, you could see, and I know it was a drama, but it was a very powerful and real one.
Yeah.
It was that look when they were told, that look of this death sentence and a very ugly, horrible death. It weren't, as if
Mm.
you're going to pass away. It was that, those guys went through it, and
The
that,
worst.
yeah, it was the worst ever. And and even that, eh, just to say to someone like, well, I've had it sort of 10 plus years, and I've been untransmittable for 9 of those years, is that some people won't even know that. This is why this is so important. I think they'll think that you never, I mean, you never could be the point where you're completely untransmittable, let alone for the majority of the time you've had it.
Yeah, 100%. It's I think there's so many things like homelessness, like HIV. There's so many things that we don't have. I mean, there's a million things I'm sure that I'm ignorant to
Yeah,
because they don't affect my life,
yeah,
and in the last, when I talk about, feeling that I'm always going to say the wrong thing, that's what I mean. In the last 5 years particularly, I've had to look at so many things and go, oh my God, I don't know anything about that.
yeah,
I had no idea that that's how people were made to feel. I had no idea that I was playing a part in that. Like,
yeah,
blows my mind still.
yeah.
And I think with being gay and with HIV, it's because you see, you know, being gay so open now, and you see adverts on Tesco's with same-sex couples having. Obviously, there's other supermarkets, but whatever, you can see adverts everywhere where people are happy and living their true life, and you know, Gareth Thomas, the rugby player, has been open about his status
Yeah.
in the last few years, and that's an amazing step forward, particularly because Gareth's story came from a, a prime example of the fact that stigma's still there.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
he came out because um he was being threatened.
yeah,
He was being told by the press that, oh, we're going to tell your family
yeah,
unless you kind of, yeah. So yeah, it's still there, but it can get better. And the whole idea with HIV is that, we, again, I don't want to quote statistics or anything, but Terence Higgins Trust and all these amazing charities, and sexual health services like Dean Street in London and all these amazing sexual health services. The idea is to get HIV to a point where it's not an issue anymore. It's the infection rates are getting lower and lower every year. Um, so yeah, little by little, eh?
yeah. Little by little, exactly right. In fact, what we normally do is we after this, I'll get you to email me your favourite headshot, and we'll get a little, and I'll write a bio to go with the podcast. I think maybe this time we should just have a picture of your tattoo on the cover. I think.
Oh my God, listen. If you want to, if
Blur
you
it
want to
out, though.
change, if you want to change the demographic of your audience, I don't know if it's going to lose you listeners or gain you, but
Oh,
I'll, it might get my tattoo artist more clients.
yeah, definitely. I think he's a clever man.
He's
Um,
got he's got a pretty long waiting list as it is,
I'm
but
sure. I'm sure. No, honestly, Steve, it's been wonderful talking to you. I've really
thanks,
enjoyed
pal.
it. It's really been emotional, and I had you in high regard, but I've got you even more high regard now. And
Oh,
I can't wait to, you know, I can't wait to come back and join you on the front line.
thank
And
you.
thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
No, I really appreciate it. And when I say you're a rock star, you are, and it's like it's gave me haircuts for homeless is in the year I've had, it's it's given me, when you struggle with things like addiction, like I do, having stability it's life or death. And the haircuts for homeless, even though I only do it once a month, it really gives me stability. It's somewhere where I'm going to be every month, and it's just amazing. I hope it goes forever.
So do I. I'll see you soon, my friend.
Thank you, pal.
Thank you.